Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, tell me a little bit. How are you? What are you doing? What are you up to these days? How do you spend your time in your vacation? Are you having a good time with your family? Oh, tell me a little bit about your family. How many sisters and brothers do you have? For me, I have two sisters and two brothers. What about you? How many sisters and brothers do you have? So tell me a little bit about yourself. Perfect. So let's start with today's class. In this class, we're going to continue talking about tenses in English. So, as I have told you first, in English, we have three tenses, right? Look at the timeline here in front of you. In English, we have three tenses. The first tense is the present tense. If we are talking about actions that are happening right now in the moment of speaking, for example, repeated actions, right? We finished the simple present tense. Like, for example, every day, every week, every month, always, usually. These are the keywords that usually we see if we are talking about the simple present tense. As I have told you, if we go back in time, we're going to be talking about the past tense. And this is what we are going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the simple past tense. And the last tense that we have is the future tense. So in this class, we're going to talk about the simple past tense. What does that mean? And when do we use the simple past tense? Look at the timeline. Here we have the present tense right now. If we go back in time, we're going to have the past tense. That means that we use the simple past tense to talk about actions that started and finished in the past. So if we are talking about finished actions in the past, we're talking about the simple past tense. What does that mean? We're talking about actions that started and totally finished in the past. Some of the keywords that usually we see in the sentence, if we are talking or that these keywords, they indicate the simple past tense, like for example, yesterday, last year, last month, last week, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 minute ago, in 1995. So if we are talking about a period of time in the past, we need to use the simple past tense because the simple past tense is about actions that started and finished in the past. Now, in the simple past tense, we have two kinds of verbs. We have the regular verbs, which we are going to talk about specifically in this class, and we have the irregular verbs. We're going to talk about them later, okay? So in this video, we're going to talk about the regular verbs. What does that mean? Regular verbs in the past tense, they are the verbs that accept the ed, which means that if I want to change this verb into the past, I need to add ed, the regular form, منتظم, the regular verb, the regular form of the simple past tense. Like for example, talk, in the past, talked. I talked with my sister yesterday. Play in the present, played in the past. I played soccer yesterday with my friends. So these are the regular verbs which accept the ed to form the simple past tense. So the ed means that the actions or the action, it already happened in the past. Like, for example, I scrubbed my elbow. Look, this is a regular verb because it accepted the ed, right? To change the verb into the past tense. I finished my homework in the past. Yesterday I played soccer with the ed. Now we have different rules to change the verb into the past. For the regular verbs, we need to look at the verb. These are the rules of how can we change the verb into the past tense. For most verbs, usually most verbs, they accept the ed. So we add the ed to the base form of the verb. Do you remember the base form? Verb 1 without any adding, right? So we only add ed to most verb to change them into the past. For example, walk, walked. I walked with my friend yesterday. Play, played. So for most verbs, we add ed to change these verbs into the past tense. For verbs ending in e, if the verb ends with e, we only add d to the verb to change this verb into the past tense. Like, for example, like. Look at the verb like. It ends with e. So if I want to change this verb into the past tense, we only add d. So the verb will be liked. Move, moved. Live, lived. So if the verb ends with e, we only add d to the verb to change the verb into the past tense. For verbs ending in a consonant and y, the letter y, what do? We cross out the y, we add ied to the verb. For example, carry. Look at the verb carry. It ends with y. Before the y, we have the consonant, which is r. So if I want to change the verb carry into the past, I need to cross out the y and we need to add ied to the verb. Carried. I carried, for example, I carried my sister's bag yesterday, for example, because it was heavy. Study. Look at the verb study. It ends with y, and before the y, we have the consonant, which is d. So we're going to cross out the y. We're going to add ied to the verb. So study in the past, studied. Okay, I studied math yesterday, for example. Some verbs ending in a single consonant and the second last letter is the vowel, usually we double the last letter, then we add ed. For most verbs, if the verb ends with the CVC pattern, which means consonant, vowel, consonant, usually we double the last consonant, then we add ed. Now we all know that the alphabets in English, they are two parts, right? We have consonants and vowels. The vowels, which are O, A, E, I, and U. So if the verb ends with the C, now L is a consonant, A is a vowel, N is a consonant. So plan, it ends with the C, V, C pattern. It ends with a consonant, vowel, consonant. So if I want to change this verb into the past tense, usually we double the last consonant, so it will be planned. Look at the N, we double the N. The verb stop, it ends with the T, which is consonant, O is a vowel, P is a consonant. So usually we double the last consonant, then we add ed, stopped. So if the verb ends with the CVC pattern, usually we double the last consonant. So let's take a look at these examples. For example, work. This is a regular verb. I worked very hard yesterday. Bake, the verb ends with e, so we only add d to the verb. We baked a cake for my sister's birthday last week. Carry, it ends with Y. Before the Y, we have a consonant, so we're going to cross out the Y. We're going to add IED. I carried the boxes with my dad yesterday. Stay, before the Y, we have a vowel. Look, if before the Y we have a vowel, we keep the Y. We only add ED, right? Last summer I stayed with my grandparents. Clap, the verb ends with the CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant pattern. So we're going to double the last P, then we're going to add ED to the verb. And these are the rules of how can we change the verbs into the past tense. Now take your chance, try to form sentences. Tell me about yesterday. What did you do yesterday? Use different past tense in your sentences and make sure that you need to follow the rules of how can we change the verbs into the past tense. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Thank you so much and see you soon.